This is the Su-35, widely known as the airplane that still has a Christmas livery 2 years after the liveries were updated. That update in which the Su-35 became nice and shiny and got a supposed to be limited edition Christmas livery, but 2 years later, and they still have a livery. The last time they tried putting a Christmas livery on an aircraft was with the A380 update, and that time it was just a limited edition livery, and they removed it once the Christmas season was over. Why haven't they fixed the livery this time? Anyway, the Su-35 is probably more known as that Russian plane that does Cobra maneuvers. And while its ability to do a sick Cobra maneuver is part of its awesomeness, that isn't the only amazing thing it can do. So the Su-35 can take off from very short runways, just like get up in the air, because it can, of course, also do the Cobra maneuver and the Cockpit and all that. This is because the Su-35 is widely known for having thrust vectoring on the engines, but the ability to break the aircraft's like cutting through the air thing is also kind of dangerous because the Su-35 is capable of exceeding the pilot's ability to handle it. And so if you mismanage it and you end up tumbling out of the sky, which is not an uncommon occurrence, then you enter a spin. Problem is, flatbeds in this aircraft are basically unrecoverable, and you will end up plummeting into the ground while spinning in circles, which obviously is not preferable. So today we're going to take a look at why the 35 is one of the best fighter jets in GeoFS, and how to pull tricks with it without crashing and dying and embarrassing yourself in front of thousands of spectators. Not that there are thousands of spectators, but in case you're performing an air show and you want to be able to impress your friends with a sick Cobra. So one thing that gets a lot of people one of the things you commonly see noobs doing is taking off from the carrier while applying full back stick and going into a vertical tumble. Of course, that is obviously not the proper way to handle this aircraft. The proper way to do it is to apply, well, not make sure you're going off a straight edge first, and then apply three quarters or half back stick, and just kind of relax it a little. You really don't need to apply that much elevator because the thrust vectoring more than gets the job done, especially at this low of an airspeed. Of course, you could pull a sick Cobra right off the end of the aircraft carrier if you're skilled enough, and so you might as well do that. Of course, you don't really have the airspeed to do that if you're operating at low FPS. That's the other thing. You can't really do a Cobra maneuver at 3 FPS. So if you want to not crash and die and impress all your friends, then you should probably get a workable frame rate before crashing and embarrassing yourself. The other thing about this aircraft is that it's really a very good model. Like you can see here, it's got some nice reflections, and the cockpit is very well detailed. But all the labels are in Russian because it's a Russian aircraft, and since I can't read Russian and I also can't read Cyrillic, I have no idea what all the cockpit labels are, which is a little unfortunate, but it does significantly add to realism. Also, you'll notice that the engines do indeed thrust vector. The nozzles go up and down, rotate left and right. No yaw control though. The thrust vectoring doesn't give you any yaw, which is kind of a problem because in order to having yaw control is definitely be a good thing. if you're trying to pull some kind of aerobatic maneuver where aerodynamic control is limited. Um, so the way you do a Cobra in this aircraft is not necessarily what you think. You have to slow down a little bit. Um, most people might try to pull a Cobra while going full afterburner. That's not how this works. You'll just go straight up. Um, you have to you have to sort of like, the wing has smooth airflow over it, and you have to sort of break that airflow in order to get the aircraft to Cobra without increasing altitude. So make sure you slow down to 150-ish knots, and then well, that didn't turn out as expected. Let's try not to die here. So the way you do a Cobra maneuver is you slow down to 150 knots indicated airspeed. This is important, um, because if you try to do your Cobra at over 150 knots, then you'll just go straight up, and then you have a real problem there. So slow down to 150, um, then make sure not to overshoot your target. The target airspeed, target attitude for this aircraft doing Cobra maneuver is typically somewhere in the region of, uh, 90 degrees straight up. So basically, what you do is you slow down to 150, apply the full throttle, pull the stick back to just over 90 degrees straight up, and then return it to forward flight. Push the stick forward to return to level flight. Of course, that's difficult to do at low frame rates, which is why I just miserably failed at it. It does show you that, there's a reason why there's this 150 knot limit. It's because that if you exceed the aircraft's operating, if you exceed the aircraft's ability to control itself, then you're prone to tumbling out of the sky, which is not only bad, but it also generally ends up in you going into a flat spin. Now, the problem with flat spins in this particular aircraft is that they're basically unrecoverable. So you basically just have to sit there spinning around in circles until you hit the ground, or until you reload the aircraft. You don't want to be doing that for obvious reasons, so you have to make sure that whatever you do, you don't allow the aircraft to enter an uncontrolled tumble. If it does start to enter an uncontrollable tumble, try to force the nose down, try to keep the nose pointed at the ground, and apply full power. That will get you a decent amount of downwards momentum, which will hopefully help the stabilizers take effect and get your wings unstalled. However, if you're below 150 knots, then you have a problem there because your aerodynamic controls don't really work so well, and your thrust vector controls are a little hard to figure out. So just don't go below 150 knots at low altitude. Kind of scales up to like somewhere in the region of 250-ish knots at higher altitudes. Um, so uh, so if you start trying to like do crazy aerobatics at 50,000 feet at low airspeed, you're also going to have a problem with losing control of the aircraft because the air is so thin that the stabilizers don't work as well. Um, so that's what not to do, but what you can do with this aircraft is quite fun because of the thrust vector, it has an enormous amount of maneuverability. You could basically throw this aircraft anywhere you want it to. The turn radius and pitch rate are excellent. They're like basically on par with the F-22 Raptor. In fact, in a WVR fight, weapons visual range dogfight, the Su-35 is a credible threat to the F-22 just because of how crazy maneuverable it is. The other interesting fact about the Su-35 is, like it does have it has a lot of liveries. So you go to the aircraft manual. You've got let's see, You've got a standard livery with a shark mouth on it, which is kind of awesome. You've got a number of other liveries, including a gray and brown camo livery, and then you've got this ho 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 livery, which I mentioned earlier. They still haven't removed it yet for some reason. So the cockpit, of course, I mentioned earlier about everything being in Russian. It also has a custom flight display, which I think is very nice. And also the afterburner effects are a little confusing. It has this weird glow in the exhaust above 30% power. Um, but once you get into the throttle of the afterburner range, then you get this very nice looking um, afterburner effect there. So that's of course very nice. At high altitudes and can reach a genuinely pretty high speed. I think this thing can hit Mach 2 and go supersonic at sea level. So it's definitely capable as far as speed goes. I think I've actually gotten this aircraft over Mach 1 without using afterburners once, like having the super cruising it there. So definitely packs a punch there. It's also capable of surprisingly slow flight. Like you can get this thing down to like the speed of a Cessna. Like for real, I could hold formation with a Cessna 172 in this fighter jet. Fighter jets are famous for flying fast, for flying slow, and yet this thing can fly slow. Um, Probably because the thrust vector control helps it out a lot at low speeds when the aerodynamic control surfaces aren't really able to do much. Also, at those high angles of attack, you do have to bump up the throttle a little bit, because the engine thrust helps replace some of the lift from the wings. So overall, I'd say that this aircraft is a very good aircraft for people who just want to make the plane go where they want it to go. Very controllable. Ground handling is a little bit of an issue. It likes to skid, slide the tires in and lose traction. Traction on this thing is terrible, but it's very nice in the air. And it's also capable of pulling sick tricks. So definitely useful for air shows, especially in this strikingly red ho 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 livery, which looks very nice with the reflections. So definitely fly this aircraft, but fly it carefully.